Greetings and welcome to Chapter 9's Lesson 9.3, Distributions Needed for Hypothesis Testing. For now, we're going to concentrate on three different types of tests. It does depend on what type of distribution you're given, what parameter you're given, what other information you're given is all going to determine which type of test that you're going to do. If you're given a normal distribution, and your parameter is the mean of the population mu, and you also know the standard deviation of the population sigma, then the test that you will do is a z-test for means. If you are given a student's t distribution, which is approximately normal, your parameter is still the mean for the population mu, but you are not given sigma, the population standard deviation, then you will do a t-test for the means. If your distribution is binomial and your parameter is proportion and information you're given is a proportion, then you will do a z-test for proportion. So it's pretty much those three tests we're going to concentrate on right now. Z-test for means, t-test for means, and a z-test for proportions. There are some assumptions that we're going to make for each of the three tests. For the first type of test, where the hypothesis test, it's a single proportion mean using a normal distribution, also known as a z-test for mean, we're going to assume our sample is randomly selected. We are normally distributed, or our sample size is sufficiently large, usually n is greater than or equal to 30. And our population standard deviation is known. So sigma is known, it's going to be a z-test. If our test, a hypothesis test of a single proportion mean, but this time using a student's t distribution, again, some assumptions we need to make: random sample, normally distributed or our sample size is large enough, and our population standard deviation is not known. We'll run a t-test. We'll use the sample's standard deviation as an approximation of the population standard deviation. And generally, if we have small numbers like 10 or 15, we'll use a t-test instead of a z-test. For the hypothesis test of a single population proportion, p, using a normal distribution, we're going to make some assumptions: random sample, binomial distribution, and n times p and n times q must both be greater than 5. So those are the assumptions we're going to make. Pretty much for homework, you don't have to worry about this part of it, but if you're going to start doing some hypothesis testing on your own later on, these are things that you got to keep in mind. You've reached the end of this lesson.